Hello viewers, today we're going to be cleaning and servicing this Holmes 8-inch twin window fan model HAWF2020, and this is quite dirty. Probably it's never been cleaned before. Looks like it's missing a few screws, which is not good. Anyways, let's get into this here. There appears to be screws on both sides. This may take a while to get this thing opened up. I actually remembered to charge this up this time, so if this battery wants to work at all, may be able to use this. Well, that was certainly easier to take apart than the newer ones are. Alright, so we did have several missing screws in here, and I think that's going to be a problem. And I think these are going to have to be replaced because they're just mangled. There's only two of these screws here, and these are what's holding these things in. It also looks like something is broken. That's going to be right there. That's broken. I'm not sure what kind of functionality that serves. Oh, this is riveted in. That's not going to be an easy replacement. This is not a standard size part. Well, we'll do the best I can to salvage that. And then, oh, here's another screw. Here's the washer. So actually we're just missing one screw. There's a bolt in here. Not exactly sure where the bolt went. That's definitely mold, so it's a good thing I opened this up to clean it today, because I do not want mold in the shop. Once you get mold on something, it just spreads like crazy. I want to get these bolts out of here because this whole thing has got to get soaked in several cleaners probably to get that mold off of there. In there pretty strong. Alright, so I could probably get another one of those screws. They don't seem like a non-standard size. If that becomes an issue, we'll just have to get another one. This here, I don't know what this serves. It doesn't seem like it serves any kind of a critical function. Maybe I'll just glue that back on and be done with that. This is also broken off of somewhere, but I'm not sure where. Okay, so that's good. That came apart pretty easily. Now let's get this out. Also came off very easily. Well, this is going great so far. Now, motors are going to come off with two screws. And these are Raider motors. Take the cord off. No crazy strain reliefs or anything, it's just ready to go. Same thing with the switch here, one screw. That strain relief off. And there actually looks like some hot glue here. That's easy enough to just break off and pull these out, and we can replace that if needed. And now the first thing I'm seeing here, which is non-user serviceable, is the fact that this is tie wrapped on here, but that can be cut fairly easily and replaced just as easily. Okay, so now we should be able to remove everything from here. Much better design than what they make today. That was a breeze to undo. Alright, so, here is the fourth screw. I guess it was just hiding in there somewhere. Alright, so now I'm going to take this stuff over to the sink and we'll clean all this up. Found this in there. I believe this to be a razor blade, so that's kind of interesting. That could have been very dangerous. Anyways, everything's been cleaned, so now we're going to work on the motors. Everything turned out okay except for those side panels. I don't think we're going to be able to save those. We're going to have to get new ones. The mold is one of the very few things I just won't play around with, and I can't get it to come off completely. And because of how jacked up the things are for whatever reason anyways, not in this video, but at some point down the road I'm probably just going to replace them. So anyways, the motors, they're not that bad. They spin pretty freely, but there is some rust on the shaft, and I'd like to remove that before it gets any worse. Don't really need to open these up for service, but I want to get that rust off of there anyways. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to power these on. Stand both of them up like this. Let's see how they're going to cooperate. That should be okay. Do that. Plug them up here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to, and I got to do this kind of quickly because they can only run for a few minutes without a blade on them. I'm just going to go down here like this and kind of remove the rust. And this is more of a preventative thing to avoid any kind of an issue in the future with not being able to get the blades off. I'm looking for that nice shiny finish on the shaft there, which we're getting. Alright, that looks pretty good. So now this should come apart pretty easily now. Actually, that's kind of junky right there. Let's do a little bit more. Alright, let's see how that looks. Alright, that seems pretty good. So now we'll do that with the other one as well. I'll zoom this in a little bit more here. You can really get a good view of what we're doing here. So once we polish this off, we're going to get rid of all that rust that's on there. And this is taking a little bit of time here. I'm going to have to wrap this up because I can feel the motors are starting to get a little warm. And we do not want to run the risk of overheating them without the blades on. So I think that should be sufficient. Actually, it's not that warm. Well, I think this is good enough anyways. Right inside there, probably because there's a little bit of thrust that pulls the shaft backwards when the motor's running, and it's kind of preventing the real edge of the issue from getting cleaned off. Let's see if we can do it by hand maybe. Yeah, I think that should be good. Did it happen on the other one too? Not so much. Alright, so now that that's been cleaned, let's see how easily this comes apart. I'm hoping very easily. Let's see, it's a Phillips screw. Okay, so this is what we're looking for. Is this going to slide off? Yes, you look at that. That's what we were looking for. This just slides right off now, which makes it easy to service. Alright, so now let's clean this up a little bit. Brush the dust off of it. I'm just going to make sure I get the big chunks of dust off. Can't see this. This is purely just to keep the motor clean. You know, you want to make sure there's not a lot of dust building up so the air can move around it. Not so much of an issue with these C-frame style motors, but it wants to have all that dust in there. What I should do anyways. And I'm going to make sure I don't lose the orientation of the motor, because if I put it back together the opposing way, the fans are going to run backwards, which would be a problem. Okay. There's a thrust washer in here. Looks like it's going to stay. It's hardly even dirty, so I'm not too concerned about it. I can't get that out of there. I'm not going to worry about it because it's not really a problem. Spinning very nicely. I'm not really going to bother doing any cleaning. I'm just going to add some oil. The reason I'm going to take this apart, even though I'm not going to clean it, is because with these closed bearing motors I can't oil the rear with it assembled, so even though it really doesn't need to be cleaned, it still has to be taken apart just to be oiled. Just a little annoying, but such is the case here. That's spinning really good now. Okay, so we'll put the make sure it's clean. This is fan oil, by the way, that we're using here, specifically for fans. There's been some confusion about that in the past. Hopefully that clears it up. And these, I don't go very tight with these, just enough to keep it so it's not going to come out. It's got lock washers on it, so it's not really going to loosen up at all. Just make it enough to be firm and even. That's important too, to get it even. Okay, so now it's going to be a little bit locked up. I'm going to take a screwdriver and just kind of tap on the shaft a little bit, and it's going to get it back into alignment here. Okay, that's spinning pretty well. So doesn't seem to be a whole lot different than it was before, but it really wasn't bad before, so you're taking something that's, you know, already working and just making sure it continues to work. This is more preventative maintenance in this case than repair. So we're going to do the same thing here with this one. Oh, well, look at that. It came off so easily, it just came off with the screw. So that's good. That's off. That's off. And just brush this clean here. Alright, and put a couple drops of oil in the back bearing. On the shaft itself. It's working pretty well. Alright, that's pretty good. We'll go with that. Let's do a final test to make sure everything is still working. Everything is still working. Okay, I'll go get the housing and we'll put the motors back in. Oh, I should clean this switch too. Does this come over here? I would think it should, but because of its age, I don't really want to force it. I'll just clean it manually. I had an awful time getting these to clean up, but they're not perfect, but they're going to do for now because this is just taking too much time. Anyways, I can't tell a difference between these two pieces. I think they're identical. So I'm going to use this one as the front because it's less yellowed and more appealing, and I'll put this other one on the back, and this other one happens to be kind of wet, so I'm going to put this back in the drying area. Actually, the motors mount on the back, so it's the other piece that I need. I decided to just use some tie wire to hold those things in place because I don't think it's necessary to put another tie wrap on there. It's much more serviceable this way. So put these blades back on. And the spin down time seems to be pretty good. So let's go ahead and power this up. And let's do a test to see how it's working. This is low. Some water flying out of there, but otherwise it's working well. And high. Alright, that seems to check out pretty good. So now I will, I forgot to clean this too, jeez. Clean this and then I will put the rest of it back together. Here's the side panels. They're cleaner, clean enough that I'm okay with it being in the shop now, but functional wise they're still not right. And I don't even know how you would fix that. I don't know how it even got like this to begin with. So at some point these will have to get replaced to be functional again. They don't even fit the thing properly anymore, but for now I'm just going to leave it alone and go with it. Water in some of these holes still. Okay, so let's see here. This has to go into that tab, and this tab is missing, which is going to be a problem. And then I guess what's supposed to happen is these little nuts go in here, and then from the opposite side this screw goes through and interfaces with that nut. So that's, yeah, actually, I'd have to drill out these rivets on the other side, but probably could drill 4 holes for that and that and that and that, and then put in new panels relatively easily. I actually have some here. I bought them for an air conditioner project, but I haven't finished that either. Ugh, I gotta get my act together and start finishing stuff. Anyways, I'm gonna just put this back together as it is, and then when I'm feeling so inclined to do so, we're going to have to do a part 2 on this one and replace the panels. I guess this one is stripped, which is kind of odd. Okay, well, I'm not going to worry about that because I'm going to have to modify that mounting system a little bit anyways when the time comes to replace these. Now I still am not understanding what keeps it in place. Like if you wanted to pull it out, so you want to lock it in place like here, I'm not understanding what does that. There is little rivets on the side here. Not rivets, they're raised. And I'm guessing that they're supposed to line up with this. These little notches on there and just kind of hold in place like that. I mean, that doesn't seem likely. It hardly grabs it at all. I don't know. I have no idea. I would love to know how in the world these got like this. It's got to be maybe heat exposure? I don't know. This one is almost colliding with the fan, so that's a little bit unsettling. I'm missing one washer for one of these things. Don't know where it is. Since that screw was loose when I took it out, I'm guessing it probably fell out who knows when along the way. And it's not with us anymore. But at least it's a fairly standard size item and we could probably get a new one relatively easily. Again, all in due time. You know what's happening? The bolt is going above where the threads are, and it's not tightening. It's tight enough, but it's not. Whatever. I'm gonna have to redesign something else because it's not gonna work with a generic side panel. But we'll deal with that when the time comes. I actually wasn't even going to service this thing until the spring because I really have no use for window fans during the winter. I just didn't want to have it sitting around with all that mold in it. Alright, so that's those for whatever they're worth. That's just ridiculous. Back up quite nicely. Oh, it's still plugged up. Safety first. Okay. Oh, what in the world? Did I put that together wrong? Oh, I couldn't have. I don't know. I'm getting thrown off because the pieces are the same and there's no screw hole there now, but I think that's because it's screwed in from the other side. I don't know, but then these, oh man, where did that go? I heard it hit something. Oh, for heaven's sakes. 2, 4, 6, 8. Is there more than 8? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What? 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, that's what's broken right there. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I guess there's only 8. So I thought I heard something drop. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I did hear one drop. Ugh. I found it. So what I'm going to do here, because this really doesn't serve any kind of purpose, I don't want to waste my time gluing it. So I think what I'm going to do, I gotta turn this whole thing upside down here. What I'm gonna do is, where'd it go? I'm just gonna kind of set it on here like this, because it's really just a placeholder. And then I'm going to put this back. And if I feed the screw through, yeah, it's going to hold in place. So I'm just going to do that. Okay, so there's the cleaned product, and interestingly enough, this is kind of working now. I can feel it hitting into those notches and it's holding. I would imagine that would wear out if you move that in and out regularly, but I guess if you just adjust it to where you want it to be and then leave it, it's fine. You know, actually it's not terrible. Because this thing is so big, I probably only have to open them like that much to use it. So maybe they'll stay. I don't know. Let's see how ambitious I feel one day to maybe replace it with new ones. Anyways, let's give it a final test here. The handle is working. Start off on low. You know, it's really not a big improvement at all. And I'm not terribly surprised because it actually was working pretty well before as it was. So, yeah. High. Yeah, it's moving more air now, but it's not as much of a difference as I've seen on some other fans. That's for sure. Do the spin down. Not bad. Alright, so there we go. That is the Holmes Air HAWF2020.